Coming up tonight, a date is announced for Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, and her son is formally proclaimed the King of England. Plus, hundreds attend the emotionally charged funeral for Omar Davis Jr. weeks after he is murdered. And a young woman reveals why she took a leap of faith and started her own body contouring business. This is our News Weekend edition. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. A big day in London today as King Charles III was officially proclaimed king this morning. Also announced was the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. Buckingham Palace saying it will be held on September 19th at 11 a.m. at Westminster Abbey. The Queen died at the age of 96 on Thursday. Her son, King Charles, has ordered that the day of his mother's funeral be a holiday in Great Britain. The new king was publicly proclaimed Britain's new monarch this morning in a ceremony that was televised for the first time.
I am deeply aware of this great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereignty, which have now passed to me. In taking up these responsibilities, I shall strive to follow the inspiring example I have been set in upholding constitutional government and to seek the peace, harmony, and prosperity of the peoples of these islands and of the Commonwealth realms and territories throughout the world.
The proclamation ceremony taking place at St. James Palace in London. It was attended by his son, Prince William, and wife Camilla, Queen Consort, as well as senior political and religious leaders. King Charles pledging to dedicate his life to his new role.
I know that I shall be upheld by the affection and loyalty of the peoples whose sovereign I have been called upon to be, and that in the discharge of these duties, I will be guided by the counsel of their elected parliaments. And in carrying out the heavy task that has been laid upon me, and to which I now dedicate what remains to me of my life, I pray for the guidance and help of Almighty God.
The death of the Queen and the appointment of the new king now means leading lawyers have become King's Counsel rather than Queen's Counsel. The announcements coming in a joint statement issued by the Office of the Attorney General, the Ministry of Legal Affairs, and the Bahamas Bar Association. In the statement, the agencies expressed condolences to the royal family on the passing of the Queen, who they say will be remembered as a beloved, faithful, and dedicated queen. Politicians and dignitaries paying their respects to the Queen. The Governor General of the Bahamas, Condolences A. Smith, commencing the signing of the late Queen's Book of Condolences on Friday morning. Our Marlena Leonard reports.
Governor General Cornelius A. Smith was the first to sign the official Book of Condolences for Queen Elizabeth II this morning. He was followed by Prime Minister Philip Davis, British High Commissioner Thomas Hartley, and a lineup of other Bahamian dignitaries. Former Prime Ministers Minnis, Christie, and Ingram, as well as former Governor General Dame Marguerite Pindling, among those paying their respects to the Queen. Prime Minister Davis offering condolences.
I'm here to mark the occasion of the passing of our monarch, the Queen of the Bahamas, and so we have a book of memorial to be signed by leaders of our country, and I think it'll be open to the public in due course for signing as well.
British High Commissioner Thomas Hartley sharing their plan for the mourning period.
We will follow the protocol set by the Governor General. He has opened a condolence book at the Senate today, which it was my honour to sign. We will also open a condolence book at the British High Commission as a secondary book for any British nationals that would feel it's more appropriate for them to sign at the High Commission. That's open today, and that will be open in the mornings over the weekend and open next week.
Hartley also offering his condolences to the Bahamian people and speaking to the Queen's legacy.
We were all her loyal subjects, and I think we were all blessed that she was born to reign over us. I think the world that she inherited to the world that she has left are completely different. A Commonwealth of equal nations, 2.5 billion people able to stand and talk together, is a completely different world to the one that existed when she was born.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
A British expat who met the Queen during one of her visits to the Bahamas is weighing in on her death. Virginia Cafferata reflecting fondly on the life of the monarch. She says she met the Queen when she visited Grand Bahama in the 1970s. Cafferata adding that what she remembers most is the Queen's smile and sense of humor.
Sir Jack and Lady Hayward had a lunch party for her, and I met her down there with Prince Philip. She appears to be, when you see her in film, tall, and she's really a very short lady, particularly standing next to her husband. But she has this amazing smile, and she just welcomes everybody. She was warm and outgoing, and she would stop and talk to people. It was just lovely. It felt like a family lunch party rather than an official type thing.
She says England will take a long time to recover from this loss, adding that King Charles now has a great role to fill. Speaking of the new king, Cafferata also had the chance to meet him at a local beach in Grand Bahama.
We were water skiing down on Lucine Beach, and all these lovely tourists were walking past, and he was standing there going, hello, you having a good holiday? And they had no idea who he was. And I asked him, I said, is there anything you can't do? And he said, well, like what? I said, I don't know, ride on the top of a bus. And he said, I've done that. He said, out of context, nobody knows who you are. He said, and I suppose it's the same with the Queen. If you don't expect to see her in the theatre, which she used to go to a lot, she would go in just as the curtain was going up, and nobody would know she was there.
Still to come on Our News, family and friends say goodbye to Omar Davis Jr. as he was laid to rest today. Plus, new doctors explain what it feels like to finally get their white coats and new titles, and how a United Nations regional forum is helping the Bahamas achieve its development goals. That's coming up when the weekend edition returns.
Welcome to the Cable Bahamas Business Solutions Cybersecurity Tip of the Day for data backups. Regularly backup your business's data. Set your backups to happen automatically and store them somewhere secure. When considering data backups, consider the rule of 3-2-1. Have 3 local backups, 2 digital backups, and 1 offsite backup. Remember, stay safe, stay informed, and stay protected.
Grand Bahama is getting its own firearms and gang unit. That's according to Royal Bahamas Police Force Commissioner Clayton Fernander.
To establish a new firearms and gang unit here in Grand Bahama. We have Mr. Ramin, who is in charge of the firearms unit, all Bahamas. And we are we are putting a firearms unit here in Grand Bahama. We see a proliferation of firearms being smuggled here as well in Grand Bahama and eventually trickle down into New Providence. But we see that a lot of the serious crime that occurring here in Grand Bahama, firearms is the weapon of choice.
Mourners filled Pilgrim Baptist Temple to capacity this morning. Family and friends gathering to say goodbye to 21-year-old Omar Davis Jr. Davis's body was discovered in a garbage bag in the trunk of a Honda Fit on August 16th. The recent graduate of Central State University remembered fondly by his cousins as someone who was outgoing, ambitious, loving, and full of joy.
Even though we were the same age, I always looked up to him from when he was young. When we went to high school together, he always helped me with anything I needed. T-Roy, are you straight? I would then let him know if I needed help or not.
His personality was unique, his goals were strategic, and all his academics were successful as well. He never had characteristics of one that was boastful. There was never a moment he portrayed an attitude of, I attitude of encouragement. No, Mom, he was a rider. If something was going on, he wanted to be there. If I had any plans, he'd get ready to go. He was the life of the party and always created a space for you to laugh, have fun, and also bring out that hidden character in you that only comes with on occasions.
The Archdiocese of Nassau issuing a statement on the passing of 7-year-old Devania Butler, who died after a swing set collapsed on her. The Archdiocese saying it is deeply saddened to learn of the unfortunate incident that occurred on the St. Bede's Church on Thursday evening. The statement adding that every life is precious and offered the Archdiocese's deepest condolences and prayers for the entire community. Police are presently investigating her death and say the incident happened after 7 p.m. on Thursday as the child was swinging on a swing set on Sutton Street off Kemp Road when the swing set collapsed. She died of her injuries after being taken to hospital. The inaugural Bahamas SDG Partnership Forum taking place at Breezes this week. It's centered on the theme Transformative Partnerships for a Sustainable Future and featured panelists from the United Nations as well as government officials and representatives from local NGOs. Our Marlena Leonard reports.
The forum was a collaboration between the United Nations and the Bahamas Development Bank. It brings panelists and the public together to discuss transformative partnerships for a sustainable future in an effort to help the Bahamas make progress on some of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. In his opening remarks, UN Resident Coordinator for the Bahamas, Bermuda, Cayman Islands, Jamaica, and Turks and Caicos, Dr. Gary Keneal, commends the Bahamas on its progress and efforts with carbon exchange innovations, renewable energy, and investments in local agriculture to fight reliance on food imports.
We also need to recognize the resilience of the people and government of the Bahamas as you continue to enact policies and programs that even from our vantage point have been so intimately aligned with the roadmap of the SDGs and the framework.
Chief of Small Island Developing States Unit in the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, Sai Navati, notes that the Bahamas' efforts do not go unnoticed, saying it sets examples for similar small island developing states.
All your efforts is a lesson learned. Building our partnerships, my unit monitors the SIDS partnership framework, and we are drawing lessons learned from every sources that we can.
Featured panels at today's forum included focuses on 4 goals in particular. The first session, Shared Prosperity and Economic Resilience, relating to Sustainable Development Goal 8, regarding decent work and economic growth. The second session, Equality, Well-being, Leaving No One Behind, addressing Goal 10 of Reduced Inequalities. The third session, Climate Change and Natural Resource Management, touching on Sustainable Development Goal 13, regarding climate action and combating climate change, opened by keynote speaker, Prime Minister Philip Davis. And the final session, Peace, Safety, Justice, and Rule of Law, centering around Sustainable Development Goal 16, to create peace, justice, and strong institutions. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Thanks, Marlena. When Our News comes back from the break, scores of new doctors get their white coats after graduating from the University of the West Indies' School of Medicine. Plus, what PAHO says can be done to help tackle the spread of monkeypox across the globe. Plus, how one young woman ditched her traditional job to follow her dreams and start her own business. That's straight ahead. Twenty-four-year-old Marissa Coakley is an entrepreneur with a passion for helping others. Whether it's through her training sessions, pop-up shops, or her full-service spa, Contour Me Body Studio, Coakley says 5 years ago she was juggling her traditional 9-to-5 job while establishing her business. But when that became too much, she chose to follow her passion.
We offer facials, we offer waxing, we offer non-surgical body sculpting, we offer piercings, just a bunch of different services with the body. When I was young, I always had a passion for skincare, and so I started making my own turmeric soaps. I made my first turmeric soap in my kitchen, and so I went from there. I always wanted to find a way to make, I guess, the easy way out when it comes to getting the dream body that you want.
And what's even more unique about Contour Me Body Studio is that Coakley makes all of her skincare products.
My turmeric soaps, my dark spot correcting creams, everything. When you deal with skincare, it's a regimen, it's a whole regimen. You can't just use a soap. You will have to get into all the creams and the toners and moisturizers, sunblock, all that good stuff. So that's how I was able to venture off into all the other stuff.
Coakley says she also decided to try her hand at promotions.
From I was in school, I always would host like teen parties and stuff like that. So I just made it bigger and started doing like pop-up shops. So our pop-up shops is where we have local Bahamians, small businesses and big businesses as well. They come out and represent their brand, and they was able to make sales and get their business out there.
She shares the highlight of her career thus far.
My biggest moment was opening my second location in North Carolina. I have a second location, the same spot, Contour Me Body Studio in the North Carolina Mall in Raleigh. That was my biggest thing. I opened it like a year ago. What I like about it is because it's in the mall, I don't have to just be promoting. I get to plan on walk-ins all the time, so it's like a safe place for me.
Here's her advice to other aspiring entrepreneurs.
Some people will start a business, it fail, and then they give up. I did it like, I can't even count. I had so many businesses that failed, and I just kept going. I had a restaurant before that I want to open back up because it was doing pretty well. It was just, I cannot take stress. So I just say I pause it for a while. But I would say don't give up on your dreams and continue pushing. Don't just do it to do it for the money. Do something that you want to do, and then it's like you never work a day in your life.
The future is bright for doctors who graduated from the University of the West Indies' School of Medicine in the Bahamas. The young doctors reflecting on their journey to the white coat and what it took to remain motivated to medicine. Christina Dragovich tells us more.
Two young Bahamian doctors taking home top honors in a recent oath swearing and award ceremony for the University of the West Indies School of Clinical Medicine and Research in the Bahamas. Recently appointed program director Dr. Corinne Sinqui recently appeared on Bahamas at Sunrise with the outstanding doctors.
This is the first class that we had such an outstanding performance with the amount of honors and distinction. And what I mentioned on the induction night was that Chelsea got the second highest score in the entire region.
Dr. Sinqui says their performance is just one example of the brilliant minds excelling in the Bahamas. Dr. Chelsea Gibson took home the award for Best Performance in the MBBS exams for 2022. Reflecting on the long journey to graduation, Dr. Gibson says it took a lot of discipline, but she's looking forward to specializing and bringing her talents back home.
If you have a goal, to stick to it, and even in those times, because med school, the journey can be very difficult, studying for exams, waking up early, being on ward rounds. But I think if you constantly remember what your goal is, what you want to do in the future, that can kind of keep you going.
Dr. Angelique Smith wants to specialize in ophthalmology and return home to Freeport. She also had an outstanding performance and was awarded the best overall student in the class of 2022.
Have a goal that you want to reach, and have a lot of support system behind you, people that can push you, support you mentally, emotionally, or financially. And time management, like I said, is very, very, very important.
Just over 600 physicians have graduated from UWI's School of Medicine and Research in the Bahamas. Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Thanks, Christina. Over 30,000 monkeypox cases have been reported in the Americas. However, Pan American Health Organization Director Dr. Carissa Etienne insists those numbers don't have to climb.
Countries should intensify efforts to prevent the spread of the virus in our region. And we have the means to slow down this virus. First and most critically is effective communication. In too many countries across our region, LGBTQ+ communities face stigma and discrimination that impacts their health and well-being. Stigma has no place in public health.
Dr. Etienne says if countries aren't proactive, monkeypox will spread in silence.
If we don't know who's infected or who is at risk of being infected, we don't know where to focus our efforts. Countries should therefore increase and decentralize their capacity for testing, specifically for high-risk populations. And our health workers and community outreach workers must be trained to identify symptoms and to provide their patients with correct information as well as high-quality, respectful care.
When we come back from the break, a look ahead at how the weather will shape up over the next few days. Plus, the artist Offshore talks about his new single in this week's art and entertainment segment. And Brazil celebrates a major milestone by making beautiful music. That's coming up when the Weekend Edition returns. Welcome back to our news weekend edition. Bahamian artist Offshore took his love for literature all the way, honing his craft as an artist, producer, and engineer. In this week's art and entertainment segment, our Jean Joseph talks to the artist about his career and newest single.
Offshore fell in love with literature at an early age. Turning his poems into raps he would perform at any opportunity during his high school years. The need to create would drive him to seek more ways to express his passion. The Aquinas College alumnus recalls his first taste of stardom, going from rap battles to performing at shows.
I never was exposed until I went on Teen Scene and I did that talent show, and to see like a whole crowd just reacting to everything that I say and like my lyrics were connecting with them, that was the first time that I like really wanted to take it serious.
Offshore found himself connected with producer Zoltan Johnson at his DigiWave studios, an experience that pushed him to pursue music production professionally, eventually obtaining a degree in audio engineering from Full Sail University. Since then, Offshore has worked with established and budding Jamaican and Bahamian artists like Dovey Magnum, DeMarco, Ghost, Luton Fire, Sosa Man, and the late MDs. Now he's focusing on himself, releasing a new single, Million, with more new music on the way after putting things on hold because of COVID and the birth of his son, Cadence.
I have this new record called Million. And this record right now is a mixture of Afro beats, dancehall, and a lot of Bahamian dialect in it.
Offshore says the song, with its simple hook and bouncy beat, is inspired by the potential financial gains possible through the rise of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin.
And what I like about this record is I'm trying to give off our dialect, and I'm giving it in a way, I'm spoon feeding it to the masses so they can catch the dialect.
Offshore is placing his bets on the unique Bahamian sound and encourages more artists to stay true to their roots while blending more popular elements into the mix.
We have a lot of creativity, and we have a unique sound that we have to get it out there. And that's the main reason that I love this record. I love it because I'm putting just my twist on like Afro beats. It's a Bahamian thing, and that's why I love the record. And everyone who hears the record, they love it too, because it's like a party type of song.
You can find out more about the artist on his website, digiwave.com. For our news, arts and entertainment, I'm Jean Joseph.
Good stuff. Thanks, Jean. Well, brace yourself for another warm night as temperatures continue to climb. Let's see what the weather has in store for us over the next few days. Brazilians in the capital recently celebrating 200 years of independence with a performance by Virtuoso Harmonica. Brazilians in the capital recently celebrating 200 years of independence with a performance by Virtuoso Harmonica and guitar duo Pablo Fagundes and Marcus Moraes. Joining them was flautist Dr. Christine Gangelhoff. The Brazilian duo entertaining Brazilians and residents with sounds from both countries as a symbol of the close ties. Commodore of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, Raymond King.
The language may differ, but the threats that we face are similar. And so whenever there's an opportunity to bridge those gaps, share those cultures, and understand what makes each country unique, we all in one hemisphere, it's a wonderful opportunity.
And we thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepard. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.